action will be taken by the international community against them, they will not act as long as they are hearing from United Nations, for example, as I said in the beginning, that we should not, the coalition should not invade Al-Hudaida port, keep it for Al-Houthi, for humanitarian. So as long as there is some organization in the world defend Al-Houthi position, so they will not change their behavior. For that reason, I am when I hear or I see such report or I read it or I watch it on the TV, it doesn't provoke anything in me, because I know, so what, yani, they will do it tomorrow, so what? This is the mentality that we are dealing with. Those people or these groups will not or feel that they are really in danger only if there is a real military pressure on them and a harsh political action done by the whole international community, and also Iran should receive a really direct warning, not just any soft warning like this. No, also a harsh warning that to stop their interference in this country and to stop their smuggling of arms to the country
and weapons.
At that time, they will start thinking. Maybe they start thinking reasonably. But now, as long as there is no sign of the international community against them, there is no decision, and there are some organization try to claim that Al-Houthi is a victim. Fortunately, they will not change their behavior. They will continue violating all the international law, and they will confiscate the medicament, they will confiscate even food, anything, and they are putting thousands and thousands of people in jail, and nobody knows about them. This is the behavior of this type of militia.
That's great. After talking about the confiscating of the medical equipments by the Houthi militias, Dr. Hussein, we are going to move on to the UN role in this crisis. The UN's aid chief has accused Yemen's Houthi rebel movement of obstructing delivery of humanitarian assistance to the country's third city of Taiz. Are civilians living under state of siege?
Once again, I say that even if they are warning, even they are accusing Al-Houthi that they are confiscating medicament and medical equipment, so what they will do? They will say, we'll take it to other hospital because you are in need of it. Okay, pass it. It is here, I think, because there is no the voluntary of stand against this group, and there are some people even try to prevent issuing a resolution of United States that consider them as the terrorist group. My question, and the question of millions of people, why Hezbollah in Lebanon, why is a terrorist group, while Houthi in Yemen is not a terrorist group? They have a role. They are part of project in this area. They are part of regional project. I can say, frankly, many Western countries are not away from this project of creation, of destabilization of this country, try to evoking regional sectarial war, foreign regional war in this area. So for that reason, I am not so optimist by any position taken by United Nations, because always they are condemning, they are accusing, they are, so what will change?
So you think that the Arab and Islamic countries should consolidate, unify the stance and also definition of the terrorist acts?
This is the only, those people will not recognize or acknowledge their position or admit it, that they are just a minority in the country, unless they start feeling a military pressure, which is not there, economic pressure, which is not there, political pressure, which is not there. So what tell me what will lead them to coordinate their work with the United Nations, or to help, or to allow, for example, humanitarian aid for other people to reach. No. What will push them to accept that? Let me do nothing. As long as there is no military pressure on them, there is no economic, there is no political action against them, they will continue their policy. They are betting here on the time. They think that one day, and they are trying to push certain organization, NGOs, to push for what they call it peace initiative, in order to consider them as a part and an essential part in the country
of the future.
And then they will reach there, and they will get more than they deserve. So they will continue. They are betting now on that time, because they say, okay, the world international community will not continue supporting this war, will not supporting continuing the war on a country, and especially with a lot of reports came from Sana'a by certain organization, European organization, speaking of they are trying to victimize al-Houthi. They put him, they make him as a victim and not aggressor. So this is one of the problems, really. We suffer of this not only in the United Nations and its organization, but also in non-NGOs and in non-government organization in the other world. And for that reason, I think the more we accelerate the military action as soon as possible, really to make a real pressure on Houthi, I think one time we'll start facing the international committee asking for peace, and this is finished. No more war. You have to accept to deal with these people.
But Dr. Hussein, don't you think that the importance of the role of the United Nations and presence in Yemen and in some of the port cities in the future, for example, it might be in Al-Hudaydah port city, springs out from the fact that they at least document the crimes of the Houthis, and also to avoid some ambiguity in reports in the future?
How many, and now for 2 years, really, there are rare reports sending by United Nations organization, by human rights organization, in which they accuse al-Houthi. They avoid. Unfortunately, I'm talking frankly here, and you see, contrary to that, they are trying to get anything to accuse the coalition forces that they are committed war crimes in this war by any way. Sometimes even if the shield, for example, a military camp, and they will say no, they are civilian were being killed, and this is once again has two factors. Factor one is that the organization offices, or this international representative in Sana'a was being selected by al-Houthi and the Austrian president, and they are sending a report according to their to what they want to say in the report, and not against al-Houthi, never. For that reason, I didn't see really a full report, or more than one time or 2-3 times I heard that they sent a report accusing al-Houthi that he violated human rights, they committed, for example, war crimes in their against a civilian, which our family were suffering of that in Aden before 2 years. So nobody talk about that. Just they can issue a declaration here or there by someone, and that's all. And we have to focus and to accelerate the processes now. Unless, I think the time will come, it will be too late to take any military action. I am expecting this summer, maybe we will see a sort of other initiative, other consultations on the peace in this country, and without achieving a good breaking through in this war, the result will not be as we expected and as we wanted.
Mhm, mhm. Um, Dr. Hussein, what about calling on the international organizations and the human rights groups to exert more efforts and pressure on the pro-coup militias to return these supplies? Wouldn't be fruitful?
Once again, يعني, I say this is not in their way of thinking. And don't forget that this type of organization, international organization, has a representative in the country, in each country, and they have some counterpart organization from local country which guided them to do what and to help them or to give them information. And this group, local group, sure, they are created by Al-Houthi and the Austin president, so they will never give a report that will accuse Al-Houthi or accuse their master that they are violating the human rights, or for example they are committing war crimes in the country. For that reason, I am not so optimistic to see such change in the behavior of this international organization toward Al-Houthi. And that's something cannot have any, it has no explain except that it is, I don't know, part of encouraging them to continue with their work, and we will pass it. Nobody will take care about the if the coalition, for example, ask for condemnation, or the legitimate government will ask for condemnation, we will pass it. No, for that reason, they have a full trust that nobody will accuse them. Just if once per month or twice, it doesn't matter. Sure, they have to clear their picture, yani, in order to show that they are condemning Al-Houthi as well as the coalition and the legitimate forces at the same time.
But back to King Salman Center for Relief and Humanitarian Aid, and also what you've mentioned earlier about the idea of having a contact or direct coordination with the local partners in Yemen. Dr. Hussein, does the center deliver and monitor humanitarian assistance in coordination with local partners, in addition to the UN organizations as well as the legitimate Yemeni government?
That's what I asked for it. I think they have operated a lot of convoys directly from Riyadh and from Sharura and from other cities directly to the country, and you know how much this will reduce the cost. For example, if these convoys came, for example, from through United Nations, they will bring it from Europe and or from Africa, and then the regional offices will collect it in Djibouti, and from Djibouti they will send it by ships, and then ships will send it to the port, and you see. But this type of work, I think it is the more practical way of sending the aid to humanitarian aid to the people, by sending direct convoys from Saudi Arabia to the region. Well, still the weakness of the local humanitarian organization is still there, because you know, all these organizations before this war was all located in Sana'a, and in the other region of the southern part there were no local organization, because they asked to centralize all the organization in Sana'a. For that reason, most of the organization is still there, and in southern now there's effort in order to create certain humanitarian or charity organization in order to cooperate with the
King Salman
Center, Emirati Red Crescent,
Red
and
Crescent Society,
in order to help them, for example, collecting data, distribution material, all of this, and doing certain works for this in their action. So hoping that it will be improved with the continuous sending of convoys directly from here, and not through United Nations, which, you know. And for example, if you spend here $1 million or $2 million, you need what to these what how many trillion, how many, and then you send it. Okay, but when you send $2 million to United Nations, it will come to New York. New York, they will send part of it to sell allowance for the people in Geneva. Those people will send it to the regional center in Djibouti, and part of it. So it will reach only 500,000. For that reason, I insist on this matter. Really, and I have full confidence in the management of King Salman Center. They are capable to handle, capable to manage their aid directly without getting help. Okay, sometimes you have to send part of this. Okay, we will send it, but the major part of the donation should be kept to the local or to national humanitarian organization or charity organization like King Salman, and they directly do their job without waiting for sending it to New York, and it will take a long time in order to get it. Here you can get it by order, direct order from the market, local market. You can get Tirilla 24 hours. It will be in the border. Second, other, it will be directly in the country. So this is the way, and this is the way to handle. I don't know if they have another way or they are having a difficulty in this, but I don't see any difficulty will face them in such process.
Talking about the Yemeni Red Crescent Society and the ICRC staff, Dr. Hussein, you know, the crimes and violations and bad practices of Al-Houthis were not confined to confiscating medical equipments that might cause deaths to some patients and Yemeni people. They include also killing and targeting the ICRC staff and the Yemeni Red Crescent Society. During 2015, for example, at least 3 ICRC staff and also 2 Yemen Red Crescent Society staff were killed while engaged in humanitarian operations. What should be done to protect the humanitarian operators?
There's some strange behavior really of the Ministry of Human Rights, legitimate. In the last meeting, Council of Human Rights in the 2 months or 1 month back, the delegation of the legitimate government went there. They went tens of people, and this is the first thing. And you are in a war, and you send 15 or 14 or 50 or even more than 20 people to participate in one in such meeting. Instead of talking about violation of Al-Houthi against medical staff, against humanitarian employees, against population of the country, they reported some people in prison of some people was being accused of terrorists in Aden, and they put a report on the security forces and other more than they do on Al-Houthi group. And how can you want such people thinking in this way will bring these crimes by Al-Houthi to the international community if they are just looking for something just in their local conflict or the local contradiction between some groups or some parties in the country. They are focusing in something really cannot be explained except that it is just to change the idea of the international community that from Al-Houthi is a group of terrorists, a group of militia that confiscated state, to some people who are accused already of terrorists and they have committed crime really against civilian, and they are engaged. So they report the people engaged because they are accused of terrorists, and they leave the violation of Al-Houthi. How come you want really the international committee will respect any report come from these people? Unfortunately, this is a situation we have to discuss it as it. This is the situation of in the country. Part of people, I can say that here, part of people joined the legitimate authority here or the legitimate government are really doing something which serve al-Houthi and the ousted president in their behavior and their acts. Because this type of acts will not serve the cause of legitimate government. Never. It serve the people in Sana'a, the al-Houthi and Abdullah Saleh, when they accuse the authority in Aden that they are gailing a number of people without trails, without anything. Okay, this is the situation. They are gailed because they are accused of terrorist action in the country. And you are reported these cases and forget the crime committed by al-Houthi day and night in the country since 3 years. This is the problem, Zain. For that reason, I am not so optimistic that those crimes committed by al-Houthi will sue the people who manage this crime, for example, in the court one day, whatever. I hope that to see something change in this country.
Dr. Hussein, in this regard, don't you think that the government, or the legitimate government of Abdrabbuh Mansour Hadi, should do more in exerting more efforts, exhausting all possible efforts to submit its own reports to the United Nations documenting the Houthis' crimes?
Well, this is what should be done. But you cannot believe to you that some of the people here, some of people, and they are in high ranks, authority in the legitimate government, their sons are working with al-Houthi. How do you want them to work against them or to report them? And they are military people. They are heading a group of military people, and their father are here with the government, legitimate government. How can you explain it to the other people, for example? Well, this is what should be done by the government, by legitimate government, to submit those crimes and to send
to document the crimes.
Okay, document it correctly, and then to send these people responsible of this crime to the court, to the international court, to the because you cannot accept, for example, a killer is tomorrow will be a minister in what they call it, a national coalition government, and those killers or these killers will come back again as a minister or even prime minister or leader or commandant of military unit. Cannot accept it. Really, this is here the catastrophe of these people. That those people who committed crimes against humanity in the country, tomorrow you will see them in the post of minister or commandant of or high rank military people, and that's should be, because the weakness of the legitimate government, the weakness of their actions. Maybe they have no experience. I can accept it, but they have. But in my opinion, some people are not willing to send some of these criminals people, the Houthi group, to international court. No, because they might have some relation, they might have some correlation, a lot of things. So they are avoiding such work. But normally it should be the legitimate government should really send.
Dr. Hussein, don't you think that the attention will be paid to this after
one day? Yes.
After the war is done,
one day
they will deal with this.
Look, one day,
one day
will come, and we will see all of this. And believe me, the blood will not become a water. Those who lost their infant or their husband or their fathers or their any will not forget those criminals. Whatever happened, the one day, and this is for that reason we have to have a justice, because ending of this war without justice, that's mean there's a lot of crimes and criminal people are still living among us, and their victims cannot take any action against them in any level of court, either local, regional, or international.
Dr. Hussein, we have the Houthi leaders, or the Houthi leader, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, accusing the UN Security Council of failure. Did his accusation worsen the situation and also mixing up issues?
Well, Al-Houthi, in the beginning, when was the representative of the United Nations Secretary General for the Yemeni issue, was starting working, and he was dealing with them according to their vision, in a way that he brought them to the international committee. He took them to Kuwait consultation, and they became recognized by the international committee as a part of the conflict. That time he was very good, and he's okay. Once he start, for example, thinking in other way, or after really, because of this type of mistake he has committed, and a lot of advice came to him, and he tried to correct his track in the peace process in the country. Al-Houthi doesn't want to accept it from him. Why he changed? Why don't he become like before? And in order to help, and for that reason, I don't think, as I said to you, they have no respect, nor for Ismail al-Sheikh, nor for the Secretary General, nor for the international law, nor for anything. They are only respecting the force. Once they feel that pistol on their head, they will acknowledge, and they will admit that Allah is Wahid. But now I don't think they are ready to change their mentality, because these people, it's a culture, warrior cultures. No need. Well, it doesn't matter. 100, 100 in one battle. It doesn't matter. They will send 50 soldiers to the border of Saudi Arabia. 30, 40 killed of them. Doesn't matter. The most important that they reach near to the border. That's the all. That's the propaganda. That's the way they are charging their supporter in Yemen. For that reason, once again I say, we need three things: military pressure, economic pressure, and political pressure. Unless we cannot achieve a justice and a peace based on really accurate calculation of the rights of everybody in this community.
Dr. Hussein, from the very beginning of this episode, you said that there should be more pressure on Al-Houthi military-wise. Now we are going to see some major operations in the future when it comes to, for example, liberating Al-Hudaydah port city. So we have the military actions actually going on, paralleled with the also restoring hope operation when it comes to the humanitarian aid and other things.
Well, concerning Al-Hudaydah port, as I said in the beginning, that there is now attractions between different countries. For example, there are some countries which, for example, the idea of invading by the legitimate government and the coalition, and there are some people who say we have to finish off this really matter. But I think this is one of the option can be taken by the coalition and the government and the legitimate government.
Unfortunately, Dr. Hussein,
to make a pressure on Al-Houthi.
Okay. Unfortunately, we've reached the end of this episode. We cannot but thank you very much, Dr. Hussein Lagwa, the political analyst.
Thank you very much.
Dear viewers, we've reached the end of this episode. We cannot but thank you very much for watching. A special thanks for Mohammed Al-Qasim, Nasser Al-Mtairi, Nahad Al-Fadr, Mohammed Al-Amshi, and a special thanks to the director of this program, Firas Kinani. Until we meet again, have a good and pleasant time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.